at the time, comes out and says, I don't think she was doing it on purpose. The coach says that. Go all the way to the front. This is how she plays. Look,
damn, girl.
She's obviously very sweet. She doesn't at all have any negative intent. Yeah, at all. She doesn't hit hard, and she plays very clean basketball.
Another white privilege.
And watch what she does to the eyes. You see?
Ooh, wow. The play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real time.
That's her in the back.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Went straight to a press conference.
So you can pause it right there.
And that's her right there.
That's her in the back, and that's the foul.
Here comes kindness.
I stand by them. I will always stand by them.
Amen.
Everybody else can go to hell.
Oh, wait a minute.
Kindness.
Wait a minute.
So you know what? We need kindness.
Grace.
They go high, you go.
Grace. Sounds like a wholesome Christian. And then she goes, hey, by the way, go to hell, and then you leave.
Walking,
talking.
Else is trying to divide our locker room. No, not having your players back will do quite the adequate job at doing that.
Patrick Bet David didn't waste a second. He pulled up the footage, stared directly into the camera, and said exactly what many people were already thinking. Stephanie White watched the play unfold in real time. Yet instead of addressing it honestly right there, she appeared to soften her position days later, after the backlash became far too loud to ignore.
DeJounte Carrington clothesline from hell incident the other day, in which she came out and said, oh, DeJounte's she's not a dirty player. She just plays real hard. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, look, she turns into the Charlie Brown teacher pretty quickly with a lot of people. At least with me, she does. The moment I realize she's going to do it again and not back her own player, yeah, I'm out. I got to tell you, one of the most obvious traits of a terrible leader, not taking any responsibility.
Here's where it begins. DJ Carrington rises for what appears to be a block attempt on Sophie Cunningham, but instead makes contact around Cunningham's neck, causing her to immediately go down and prompting trainers to check on her courtside. Officials call it a flagrant 2 on the spot, and Carrington is ejected before the broadcast can even finish showing the contact from another angle. She has to leave the game immediately.
Immediately, Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White walked past her own player Sophie Cunningham to check on DeJounte Carrington after the hard foul.
Nobody in that arena needed a slow-motion replay to see how bad the contact looked. Watch Stephanie White on the sideline at the exact moment it happens. Her eyes are fixed on the play. She's not checking a clipboard, talking to an assistant, or looking somewhere else. She's watching it unfold live, just feet away from her own bench. And that detail matters because days later, that was the very part of the story Stephanie White seemed to quietly rewrite.
Look, it was a hard foul. I don't think that DeJounte intentionally came out to get her across the neck like she did, but it did happen, and I thought it was the right call. But one of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup, and so I don't oppose the hard foul, but I also don't think that she intentionally went for the.
Right after the game, reporters asked Stephanie White about the foul, and she didn't hesitate. She said DJ was going to play her heart out every night, that nobody was getting an easy layup against her, and that she personally had no issue with the hard foul. She even said she didn't believe Carrington intentionally targeted Cunningham's neck, despite watching the sequence unfold from only a few feet away. That's not the response of a coach who missed what happened. It sounds more like the calculated defense of a coach standing behind a player she personally coached for 2 seasons in Connecticut.
I can't believe that Stephanie White kind of stood up for Carrington. You would never see Shell Reeve, Becky Hammond doing this. You may think something, but you sit in a press conference and say that in front of your team? You don't do that. That's how you lose the team. The team will go against you. What? I'm blown away by that. You can think, oh, I used to coach her, talk to her on the side, whatever, but you don't go in national news and basically put down your own team.
This wasn't a coach commenting on some stranger from another franchise. White had built a genuine relationship with Carrington, coached her for 2 seasons, shared a locker room with her, and knew her competitive mindset on a personal level. So when the moment came to call the foul for exactly what it appeared to be, White didn't. Instead, she softened her description and stood firmly behind a player she already knew well.
Is Fever coach Stephanie White defending DeJounte Carrington over her own player. That is absolutely bizarre considering you can watch the replay of that and it was absolutely unacceptable what happened to Cunningham. Both Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Collins are wonderful role models for young children and they play the game exceptionally well. Sophie Cunningham said that the hit by DeJounte Carrington was intentional, but Sophie Cunningham's coach sided with Carrington. Carrington is a Chicago Sky Guard that was once coached by White. I just can't understand why the WNBA is not doing more to protect their players. When Stephanie White was interviewed, she said she doesn't oppose the foul, but she definitely doesn't think it was intentional. That Carrington plays her butt off. That's a pretty generous interpretation of what happened.
The reaction to that press conference was immediate, and it was anything but quiet. Fans sitting courtside were visibly frustrated as soon as the replay appeared on the Jumbotron. Clips of the contact spread across social media within hours, pulling in millions of views by the next morning. Analysts kept asking the same question. How does a flagrant 2 that leaves a player needing medical attention get described by her own coach as something she doesn't oppose? As the criticism grew louder, so did the pressure on Stephanie White to explain herself. And that pressure set the stage for what happened just days later, when White suddenly offered a very different version of the story in front of a new group of cameras and with a noticeably different tone.
I didn't see the play in real time. I went straight to a press conference. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time.
Were there any
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time.
3 days after the original incident, Stephanie White stepped back to the podium, but this time her tone was completely different. She said she hadn't actually seen the play develop in real time, explaining that she went directly from the bench to a scheduled press conference and only later, after watching the replay, understood how serious the contact looked. She also said she takes it personally when people suggest she doesn't support her players, insisting that she stands behind every one of them without exception. But here's the problem. Sideline footage from the original broadcast appears to show White looking directly toward the play as it happens. She's not turned away, distracted by a substitution, or focused somewhere else. She's facing the court with a clear view of where the contact occurred. So her later claim that she didn't see it live doesn't appear to match what the cameras captured that night. And once viewers compared that sideline footage with her newer explanation, serious questions about her changing accounts started to emerge.
See it.
Say about the play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real time.
That's her in the back.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Went straight to a press conference.
So you can pause it right there.
And that's her right there.
That's her in the back, and that's the foul. What do you mean you can't see the foul?
Unbelievable.
And she says she got a better view than some of the referees got. And then this is how she comes and cries on TV about the criticism she got. How dare people on social media call her out? Go for it.
This is what really set the internet off. Someone took the original sideline footage and placed it beside White's later press conference comments, breaking down the moment frame by frame. It's difficult to watch that comparison and conclude that she simply missed the play. Her head stays focused on the action, and her eyes appear to follow the sequence from beginning to end. Whatever she witnessed on that court, the footage suggests she saw it as it happened, not 3 days later on a replay. So, why did her explanation change? The most obvious answer is also the one many people were reluctant to say out loud. Stephanie White had coached DeJounte Carrington and knew her personally. Once the backlash became too loud to ignore, some viewers believed protecting that relationship may have mattered more than sticking with her original account of what she witnessed.
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. all the time. They know that. It's a shame that we can't have an opportunity to talk about what great basketball they're playing. Because they are f***ing playing. The reality is, with me, I will always lead with love. I will always lead with grace. I will always lead with humility. And I will always lead with integrity. Doesn't mean I'll always get it right. I'm also human. The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not.
This is the part that exposed the contradiction most clearly, and it's what really set the internet on fire. During that same stretch of press conferences, White raised her voice and told everyone in the room, along with everyone watching at home, that she would stand by her players no matter what. She said she would ride with them regardless of what anyone outside the locker room had to say. It sounded passionate, like a coach drawing a firm line in defense of her entire roster. But which players was that loyalty supposed to protect? Because the player who was actually hurt on that specific play was also one of hers. Sophie Cunningham wears the same jersey, shares the same locker room, and works under the same head coach every day. If that loyalty truly runs equally in both directions, critics argue that same energy should have appeared when Cunningham needed her coach to acknowledge how serious the contact looked. Not 3 days later, after the backlash had already forced the issue into the spotlight.
Put both hands up right after. But that's DJ's not doing things half speed, right?
No.
Like she's swinging.
Now here's where the pattern becomes harder to ignore, and it's a major reason this story refused to disappear. Just days after the Cunningham incident, Carrington was defending Cecilia Zanalissini of the Golden State Valkyries and made contact directly around her eye while reaching for the ball. No flagrant was called, and there was no technical either. But the clip quickly spread across social media because the contact looked strikingly similar to what had happened only days earlier. Once again, the contact appeared to land on an opponent's face rather than the basketball. One isolated incident can reasonably be viewed as an accident. But when another similar sequence happens so soon against a completely different opponent, people naturally start asking whether there's a larger pattern that deserves closer examination instead of another easy dismissal.
Now here we have her completely so far away from the basketball, just slapping Tiffany Hayes in the face. Let me just reach and see if I could grab some face real quick. Just smacking Tiffany Hayes in the face. Not really that big of a deal. Steph, any thoughts on this one?
One of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And
Fair enough, but it didn't stop there. Later in that same matchup, Carrington also made contact with Tiffany Hayes around the mouth during another heavily contested possession. That's two separate incidents involving an opponent's face in one game, coming directly after the flagrant against Cunningham just days earlier. And if you go further back, there are clips from previous seasons showing similar incidents, with hard defensive plays repeatedly ending in contact above the shoulders rather than cleanly on the ball. That doesn't automatically prove intent, but it does create a track record that's harder to dismiss. It also makes Stephanie White's original explanation, that Carrington simply plays hard, more difficult for critics to accept at face value. One aggressive game can be written off as a rough night. But when similar contact keeps appearing across different games, opponents, and seasons, it becomes a pattern worth addressing instead of something to explain away every time.